I'm approaching Agile the wrong way. I used to be a Scrum Master, and I talk about weaponizing Agile. I talk about using Agile to convince people that I'm the right person in the room and just throwing fancy words and terminologies and whatnot. And I realize that I'm alienating people more than I am actually attracting them. And I feel like it's a responsibility as Agile coaches to let people know that, hey, this works. You don't have to hate it.
Hey everyone, I'm Dave and I'm here with Haas, and I want you to hear a story and join us in this conversation to help you, your teams, your organization with better ways of working. All right, hey Haas, welcome. Glad to have you onto the podcast, man.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. Longtime fan, first time caller.
Yeah, as we used to say in the radio days. But hey, listen, folks, Haas just launched a new podcast called Dead Sprint Radio. You got to go check it out. We'll put the link in the description. Haas, just give us a taste of what the listeners and viewers will get with Dead Sprint Radio.
Thank you so much. For contextual background, I'm actually part of an Agile coaches group with Dave here, and we the conversation of me starting a podcast has been in the back of my mind for so many, I'm going to say years, probably a couple of years, but I wanted to refine my approach to it. And it really wasn't until I got in this group with these guys where I realized that, hey, I can do that too. And then, they're great supporters, and if it wasn't for them, if it wasn't for Dave and company pushing me to do it, I probably wouldn't have launched it. So thank you, first of all, for pushing me.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much. And it's basically about people. It's about Agile, obviously, and people. It's about what Agile is really meant for and how I connected with it. I always tell everyone that I have a personal connection with Agile. I have a personal reason to be an Agile coach, and it involves me not knowing what I want to do with life or being lost in life in general. And I discovered Agile around the same time that my daughter was born. And it kind of put things in perspective for me how, you can't walk away from responsibilities, but you really need to identify what's broken for you to fix it instead of just walking away from it or getting angry at it or just throwing your finger or throwing your hands up in the air and say, I don't know what to do. So there's a lot of connection of the dots. And for me, a lot of epiphany points for me that happened in my life around that time, which is about 10, 15 years ago. And I realized that, hey, I'm approaching Agile the wrong way. I used to be a Scrum Master, and I talk about weaponizing Agile. I talk about using Agile to convince people that I'm the right person in the room and just throwing fancy words and terminologies and whatnot. And I realized that I'm alienating people more than I am actually attracting them. And I feel like it's a responsibility as Agile coaches to let people know that, hey, this works. You don't have to hate it. It's supposed to work for you, not the other way around. So that's what
you don't work for Agile. I love that.
Yeah. So that's
tell me about the weaponizing. Tell me about one instance where Agile was weaponized and what the antidote to that is.
That's a really great question. There was this incident, and I'd like to go to, obviously, my past and some specific stories, and I'm all about war stories. I love those. And that's what we talk about a lot on the podcast too, war stories. So where the scars came from. And there was this moment back in the day where I was a Scrum Master and I was forcing people to do certain things, like physically stand up during stand-ups, right? And go away from where, why did I do it? At that time, I didn't understand the psychological impact of having that standing up and going somewhere away from your desk to do something. I understood it years later, but I forced it on people. And when people ask me why, I used fancy words just to basically say, Scrum.org told me to, or Scrum Alliance told me to, or Safe Manual told me to. So that's how I weaponized Agile in my experience. I use words.
So following the practices perfectly, maybe there was some idea that Agile would just happen, right? But if you didn't explain the purpose or the intent behind those practices, it can surely be formed into weapons. I got it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So the psychological part of it is that, if you don't mind, this is what I learned later. To me, standing up, there's a connection to saying, hey, this is something that we have to change and adopt to. So I later was able to explain to folks, hey, by the way, the reason we're standing up and actually going somewhere else is I want you to get in the habit of saying that this is not normal anymore. What we used to do is not status quo anymore. We actually have to change our tactics or wake up our mind and be open to additional changes, to be open to changes. So that's the psychological part of it that I was able to make the connection.
I love that. Love that. So, what else are you going to be covering in Dead Sprint Radio?
Oh boy. Okay. So we're going to talk about that actually coming up soon. That Agile, our first episode is titled Agile is Not Broken. We are. We're going to talk about leadership's involvement. It's do as I say, not as I do. We're going to talk about product management and their impact on the entire enterprise and the entire transformation. We're not going to cover so much how do you do objectives and key results or how do you do everybody already knows that. I'm not going to tell you how to slice a story, or if you're looking for how to's, you're probably not going to get it in this. This is really more of for people like us and people who have been in the industry or any industry that have heard similar stories and they can connect with and they can hear how we dealt with some of that trauma that we've dealt with. We're going to talk about psychological safety, that it's not just a buzzword. And we're going to talk about one of my favorite ones coming up is the big misconception that people have about safe is that it solves everything. Actually, no, it just exposes everything on a scale level, exposes everything that's broken or needs fixing on a scaled level.
Yeah, so for folks, the word SAFE is an acronym, Scaled Agile Framework. Of course, if you're an Agilist, you know about it. And leaders as well. Are you going to get into leaders and how they can help or hinder?
We are going to talk about leaders. As a matter of fact, we have plans to invite some of my former leaders who I've worked with in the past few years. I'm still friends with, thank God. It's another thing that actually Agile helped me on a psychological level, on a personal level, is that I was able to maintain relationships after I left an organization. Sometimes it used to mean to me leaving an organization, meaning it has to be on bad terms or burning bridges. I still have maintained a lot of friendships over the last, I'm gonna say, 8 years of my life with some of the folks that I trained, transformed, work with, launched products with. So I still have those good relationships. As a matter of fact, one of our friends who's in the cohort with us, not going to mention his name because I don't know if he wants to or not, is someone that I actually contacted to come in as a contractor to help us do something. That's about, I want to say that was in 2020. That was 5 years ago. And we maintained friends since then. The contract didn't pan out, but we maintained friends. Yeah, so I'm glad that he was open to that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it how we form relationships. And folks, if you're wondering what is this group that Haas is talking about, it's called the Forge. And I do have an episode with Chris Williams, actually Forge Genesis
Yes.
is this type of cohort. And I don't know if this is going to post before or after, but check my channel. There'll be a recent interview with Chris on, and he'll tell you more about it as well. So it's a great opportunity. I've really enjoyed hanging out with folks like Haas and others where we're kind of discovering our path, our journey, and how it leads to helping you all in where you're at in your career and where you're. And that's why I call this channel Better Ways of Working. It's part of the Agile Manifesto, right? We're uncovering better ways of working and helping others do it.
And speaking of Chris, I mean, he really did help us, ready? Unlock our intrinsic motivation.
Yeah, so much good stuff. So, folks, I'll put the links to that as well. So make sure you check out badassagile.com. That's Chris's website and how you get to his podcast and the Forge and Forge Genesis as well. So, for why Dead Sprint Radio? Dead Sprint. Why that name?
Okay. So cat out of the bag. I've used ChatGPT to help me with some names.
Okay.
It was not the first thing that it popped out. It popped out a lot of things. And
Okay.
you know, this may lead into a different episode, by the way, but I'm not gonna belabor this. But to me, AI, ChatGPT, or Copilot, or whatever else, is a great tool. Not the smartest tool. It does help you get you started. That's how I feel about it. I know there's a lot of people that are worried about AI out there that's going to take a lot of people's job. That's probably, I don't think is going to happen anytime soon. That's my personal opinion. But it did help me put together some ideas and it kept throwing ideas at me. And I said, I don't like that. I don't like that. And ended up coming to the word dead sprint. When do you reach a dead sprint? Is there such a thing as a dead sprint? A dead sprint is something I've heard in the past, especially if you're practicing scaled agile framework. You have that last sprint in
Mm,
the quarterly planning. We're supposed to be called innovation and planning sprint. And I had heard some leaders say, well, that's just a dead sprint because nobody's doing any work. And someone said, if you use dead sprint, if it becomes a dead sprint, then I'm just going to stop the whole thing because the agile is not working. So, giving that memory with a lot of people I see online on LinkedIn or social media say agile is bad, agile is not working. A lot of them are agile coaches, by the way, who are trying to get you to sign up to some agile transformation or training. But they keep saying
Agile
agile
sucks.
is
Take my
not working
class.
for you. To be fair, I'm going to say at least I'm one of those people. Yeah, agile probably is not working, but it's not because agile is bad, because it's not being used correctly. So
Yeah,
that, along with the message I heard before, like dead sprint, agile's not working. So like, oh, dead sprint, yeah, dead sprint radio. That sounds
I
like a
like it.
good name. So
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, no, I agree. So it's about going back to the principles, right? The principles of Agile and the values of Agile, individuals and interactions over processes and tools, et cetera, right? So that's where we have our fellowship here, in a sense that we're all aligned to these principles, and we're all agreeing that yes, we can do better, and we want to help the community and the industry as a whole.
yep, yep, and that's where it came from. Like, I think agile's been getting a lot of bad name, bad rep out there, and let's be honest. Their market has been saturated with a lot of bad coaches, a lot of coaches that don't know what they're doing, a lot of people that have the name coach in their name, but haven't really coached. They just went and got a certification. I have an opportunity to go get a bunch of safe certifications and other certifications and Kanban certifications. I'm not big on certifications. I have my SPC, I have my LPM, and for the heck of it, I got my SSM. I could have gotten other ones, and honestly, I'm just gonna continue renewing mines, and that's it. I want to learn how to functionally and positively use and apply the things I learned. I'm not in it for the certification. And I think that's what's wrong with Agile today, is that there's a lot of people with the word coach next to their name because they got a bunch of certifications, but real world applications are not there. You know what to do. I know what to do. If people don't want to stand up, it says, I'm a business analyst. I don't know what I'm doing here. Let's not have an inspect and adapt sprint. Like, we know how to handle these questions. I feel like a lot of people that have the word coach next to their name, when they're told that, they look through a book and say, how do I respond to this? So I think it's our mission and our responsibility to go out there and fix the bad agile that's out there in the world. And, as a matter of fact, that's my LinkedIn title: an agile coach set to fix, something like that. I don't remember what I said on my LinkedIn, but it says something along the lines of like, I'm an agile coach who's trying to fix bad agile in this world.
Yeah, I looked at your profile. I think that's what it says. I totally agree with you. And I like what you said earlier, right? All the buzzwords. You can do everything perfectly, whether it's safe, Scrum at scale, or whatever, and the customer still isn't happy. I think we've lost focus on the customer as well. And this is where, like, if you look in the past, Lean Six Sigma, they also tried to focus on the customer. But if you don't implement those programs well, right? And now we've got the product operating model. That's the latest stuff. Fad. And I don't think it's a fad. I think it's really trying to help fill some of the gaps. And I think there's going to be a combination there at some point down the road. But yeah, we've got to focus on our customer. Following practices and steps perfectly does not guarantee success. I don't know how people can learn this in a class. When you're talking to an executive or you're talking to a team member, it's about changing the way we work, and it's about focusing on the customer and these other principles and Agile and the 2-day classes. It's just a taste. And I think that's what we're trying to figure out, is how to get real agility into organizations, right?
Right. And I think people have lost sight of the fact that agile is a mindset. I mean, it's been, as coaches, that's what we keep saying to people. Agile is a mindset. If you're not willing to think about your customer, your people, your product, your working solutions — I like to call them solutions, not working software — then you're losing sight of what Agile is about. Agile is not going to come in and cookie cutter over whatever you're doing and say, all right, everybody follow this process. Have you ever watched that movie about McDonald's? I forget the name of it.
Yeah,
Founder?
supersize me.
So, no, no, no. The one with
Oh,
Michael Keaton, where he is the founder of McDonald's, and when he discovered the people that created McDonald's, how they created a system that works, and how everybody — that's not what's
I
going to
know the
happen.
history. Yeah,
Yeah, that's not what's going to happen.
yeah.
If we say, hey, we're agile, that means starting tomorrow, we're going to do this and we're going to see immediate impact. No, no, no. It's the mindset. Your people and you have to buy in that this is the way you should be practicing your business going forward. Not just your scrum master or product owner or developer or engineer. You as a business owner, you as a leader need to buy in into that. My people matter, my customers matter. And if I make those two groups happy, that's going to result in monetary returns for me and value.
And the culture needs to change. And that's the toughest part of all.
Yes, yes.
Because if the
It's not
culture doesn't
easy.
change, come back 6 months later and they've fallen right back to their old ways of working, right?
It's not easy, but it is a lot more enjoyable when you work in an environment where everybody's on the same page. Everybody has that mindset to say, we got each other's back and we want to make this work.
Yeah. Awesome. Haas, how can people get a hold of you, your podcast? Give us the contact info.
All right. Well, there's a couple ways. We have Debt Sprain Radio on YouTube. You should be getting the link up for everyone. We also have debtsprintradio.com. It's still under constructions, but you can definitely reach us on there if you want to leave a comment or have some feedback or ask a question. And you can email me directly, Hoz, at debtsprintradio.com. Send me an email and I'll be able to respond to you. So that's how you can reach us.
Thanks, Haas. Thanks for joining us. We'll have to have you back. Please like and subscribe if you find value in this. Tell your friends, pass the news around. We've been growing and it's all good stuff. And give us feedback. Love to hear from you. Drop a comment, say hi. Let's get in touch. So thanks for watching and listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you for having me. Take care.